Why is content so important?
That if cash is king in business, then content is queen. The purpose of content creation is actually promotion.
The main thing about content creation is finding what works for you. It's trying to figure out what your top of funnel content is.
But also, if you were to lose it all today, what would be the steps that you do to build it from scratch?
How would you come up with all of your content ideas?
If you're doing content creation and brand on that level, completely wrong.
People can smell bullshit from so far away. They can smell it through the phone.
If it's not authentic, it's not sustainable.
Because if you wouldn't share your own video, it's probably not a good piece of content. All right, welcome back. This is the Run It Up Media podcast with your hosts, Switch Stevens and Mel Yu.
What's up?
Yeah, how you doing today?
I'm good. Excited to be back. We're going to get into a rhythm of these episodes, so I'm keen as.
Well, we're officially past the, what do you call it, the statistic?
99% of podcasts. So if anyone thinks they want to start a podcast and get into the content game, most podcasts don't reach past one episode. Is that right? Is that the start?
Yeah,
one?
and then it's like 99% don't go past episode
10.
3.
Oh.
Yeah.
Then how many for 10? So if you reach 10 episodes, which we will, we'll be in like the top 1% of podcasts.
No, it's 21 is the 0.1%.
Anyway, guys, we've just raffled off a bunch of these. Raffled? Is raffled a word? What am I trying to say?
No idea.
Rattled off a bunch of stats.
Okay. Well, let's get straight into it. Tell me, why is content so important?
I love this question. Content. I think that if cash is king in business, then content is queen. And
That's a really good saying.
And yeah, because you need cash flow, but the thing that's going to complement your cash flow and that's going to elevate and bring your business to the eyes of people is your content game. And in a world now that is so digital media focused, TikTok, Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, Snapchat and whatnot. These are really, really big players that are going up against large platforms that traditionally were like Google as a search engine. And what do these platforms love and what do these platforms have and need? It's content. And so I think now in a world where if you're just someone that's trying to get out there or get your voice or service or products out there, you need to step up your content creation game because it is the world we live in. You can love it or hate it, but I say it's always going to be bigger than you, so you might as well play to it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think we, especially in our industry now, we've been able to create a full-blown agency that's serviced and staffed purely because we recognize the value of content and also that people potentially might not be able to keep up with just the sheer volume of content that is going out.
It takes a long time, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's also a skill. And I think it's also someone's natural zone of genius and someone potentially might just not like it. And within a business, you need your left brainers and you need your right brainers. And what I mean by that, for those that don't know psychology terms, is you need people that are analytical, data-driven processes and quite methodic in what they do. And then you need your right brainers that are quite creative, artsy, love language, those sort of things. So you need to complement those two things. But yeah, I think content, everyone needs it. Every business needs it. And if you once upon a time didn't, we're about to move into an entire era that will rely very, very heavy on content creation.
Yeah. Yeah, content creation. I was actually having this conversation the other day. It's like, who needs content creation? Because if you thought about a steel manufacturing company that's been around for 40 years, it's like, does content really help them? Mm-hmm. Or is it more so that it's for businesses that are still young and it fast tracks their success? Because that's essentially what we see and why I talk to a lot of people that need to get on it because they're like, oh, I need to get on and start making TikToks and stuff like that because these people are blowing up. And so what they're looking at is actually the fast track of success. Mm-hmm. And it's bizarre to think that like there are some businesses that will probably fade away in time that don't necessarily need it, and they're operated by a 70-year-old dude he's still just advertising in the yellow pages. But the businesses that are, coming up today, or have, they were birthed in the 90s even, something like that, they are now getting really onto it because it's just where the attention is. And if you want to advertise correctly, it's not billboards anymore. It's not in the yellow pages, it's not on the side of a bus, it's where people's eyes are. And everybody's eyes are on their phone because their screen time is at like 12 hours a day.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head with that. I think the purpose of content creation is actually promotion. And by promotion, we mean brand awareness and eyes on your business. And so traditional forms of media like radio, TV, and billboards were those things where our attention would go. But nowadays, because it's so consumed on the phone, all we're doing is changing the medium of that. All we're doing creating a podcast is because people now listen to podcasts on their way to work. They listen to podcasts in the gym. So we're creating a platform that's going to be a bit easier so that people can hear us, understand our thoughts, our feelings, our beliefs, and then get to know us a bit more. So that's the real aim of content creation, which is just getting yourself out there and making it easier for people to find you.
Yeah.
So we've both built pretty relatively strong personal brands, and you've done it twice now. So for those that don't know, Switch used to be a fashion icon on social media and grew an account up to I think 48,000 or 50,000.
Yeah, 52,000.
And then basically the pivot happened where his brand changed and he became quite entrepreneurial and business focused, and he had to change his niche. And I think that's so okay when you build a platform and you change your niche and you go, okay, this no longer, this audience or this community doesn't necessarily want to see this particular stuff. Yep. And now you've gone out and I remember you went out and you told everyone I'm going to start on the 1st of Jan and now I'm going to build my portfolio and my brand. And on social media, you've actually already grown your Switch Stevens business account. And so I want to know how you did it, how you made the decision to sort of like get rid of the fashion account, but also if you were to lose it all today, what would be the steps that you do to build it from scratch? Because I know there's people listening that probably want to get into the content game, but they're like, I posted and I got 2 likes and one was my mum. You know, how can you help them?
Yep. I think the first thing that you need to really do is test a lot of different forms of media, because most people will create a video, it takes them 8 hours or whatever it is, and then they do that and they give up because it didn't work. But the main thing about content creation is finding what works for you, and if it's not easy to create, then you won't create it. So it has to be a good piece of content, but it also has to be easy enough for you to continually create it on a daily, daily basis. And so when I started my account again, I set myself the task of, I called it Project Blueprint, and it was 100 videos in 100 days because I wanted to test so many different styles of content. And that went from anything from like talking head videos to inspirational type, just caption videos. I did like, just text on the screen videos. I did so many different styles of videos. And I now have kind of found what works for me. And essentially I've just like kind of put it down into, I've got my top of funnel content and then my bottom of funnel content. My top of funnel content is where it goes broad. I'm never speaking in my top of funnel content. It's always just a bit of text, but the actual visuals tell a story. But it means that it can actually go further because now people can interpret it the way that they want to, whether it's, a transformation from, my old life of, rock and roll and stuff like that into entrepreneurship. And it tells a story along the way of, how I've evolved over time into the person that I am today. There's no talking in it. But then once you get them in, then they start watching your content and they get down to my bottom of funnel content, which is where I talk about business, where I talk about discipline, where I talk about content creation and all of those types of things. Those videos never really perform very well, but they're there for the people who already like my content, follow my page, and want to get to know me more 100%. On a personal basis. So it's finding, if you were to start again, it's trying to figure out what your top of funnel content is, and then figuring out what your bottom of funnel content is, and then create both.
Yeah. And just on that, recognizing that only 3% of your audience is ever at a ready to buy stage, a hot audience, we call it in marketing. And people kind of go, I feel like the idea of content creation is about longevity and it's about sustainability and it's about the macro, whereas people come to us and they want a quick result or like, what's my ROI? And I'm like, you're doing content creation and brand on that level completely wrong. Yeah. And we're thinking really wrong. We're thinking so micro with it, and it's not really what content creation's about. You don't create sales content to hopefully be like, well, why isn't anyone buying my stuff? And it's like, well, idiot, only 3% of your audience at any one time is actually ready to buy. So every other time, you're really just nurturing your audience and keeping them warm so that when they are converted and ready to buy and they go, okay, I actually want that problem to be solved now and I need that solution, you're front of mind. That's how I see it.
So if you were to, obviously take the advice of just what we had said, how would you come up with all your content ideas?
For me, we have slightly different approaches, I think, to this, which is why we make such a compatible team. But for me, I always lead with authenticity. It's how I've grown my brand. It's actually how I've grown anything. And even with our clients, I think when we can really master their authentic tone of voice, then that's when we nail it. Because if it's not authentic, it's not sustainable. It will never last. Not in the long run. You might get a viral video and whatnot, but you will find if you're not authentic, you're just continuously going against the grain and it will exhaust you and you will burn out. Yeah. And so for me, creating sustainable content it's always in my authentic nature. I absolutely love it. I have built a muscle around posting every day. I'm active every single day to the point that if I am not active, people message me and be like, hey, is everything okay? Where are you? God forbid I take a break, guys. But that is the level of communication and the level of responsibility of how I take my content so seriously. And for me, content is everything. And that's easy for me because I'm someone that naturally wears my heart on my sleeve. People know when I'm having a good day. People know when I'm having a sad day or a bad day or a great day. And that works for me because energetically it makes sense. So I show up online no matter what form or phase I am in. And that's how I'm able to create it because for me, everything is content. For those that do follow along, I post about my walks. I sometimes can post about my food. People know I'm a foodie. I post about my partner's life. I post about my dog. Like all of these things, keeping in mind on a story strategy. So they disappear after 24 hours anyway. But people get a snapshot and a behind the scenes of how I live my day-to-day life. And for me, that's what's worked. And I've done that for the better of 10 years. Yeah. So that's just compounded and accumulated over time.
It's the Mel TV show.
Yeah, and I'm the main character. Yeah. But people are tapped in and also recognizing that you don't always have to be tapped into the Mel brand. You can hop off and go and search another personal brand or influencer or someone that inspires you because we all go through different phases and frequencies. But what I do love is that when you are ready to come back, I will nurture you again and you will see that it's as if I've never left.
Yeah, I heard a really good saying the other day. It's like, especially with your stories, it's on the topic of like TV show, is that your stories should be 8 stories are just your TV show with 2 stories of ads. So it's like people are watching your TV show, but then all of a sudden an ad comes on, and that's when you have like a little bit of a sell or something. You show your offer or whatever you're doing, but then you go back to your TV show.
I love that.
Yeah, it's kind of cool, eh?
Yeah, I love that. Everyone's out there. Yeah, go create your own TV show. But for you, what insights do you have around content ideas? Because people do get really stuck on it, right? I think they think way too much about it and go, I don't have enough. I sound like a broken record. But tell us what you think about generating content ideas.
Well, there's different ways that you can do it, and the good thing about the internet is there's no really brand new ideas. Everything is just, reused. So you can actually use different types of programs and tools and Chrome extensions like TalkSort, where you can actually find other people's viral ideas. And then the idea itself is proven on the internet that it's interesting. So I'm not saying take their video and do it word for word, but I'm saying the actual idea has already been proven. So if you can find other people's viral videos, that way you can kind of fast track your way to growth, because going viral is not always a really good thing. If I had the choice between going viral or having steady growth, I would choose steady growth every single time. Because if you accidentally go viral for something that you are not, you're going to ruin everything. So if, like, you talk about brand and content creation, we both do. But if all of a sudden we put out a funny video that we just had a little bit of fun making and it went super viral, the internet would now think that that's the type of content that we put out. And then we go to talking about brand and content. Everyone's going, what the hell? This isn't funny. Value's dropped off. And you're like, no, I didn't mean to go viral in that video. Yeah. So it's that steady growth. But you can find those videos and take the idea yourself and rewrite it, rescript it, and refilm it and do it all yourself. That's one really good way of finding good video ideas. But two is, and it's the way that I usually do it, is I have a Google Doc constantly in my phone, and anything that happens in my life that I think could be a piece of content, I'll quickly write it down. And I do that all out during the day, or even if I'm just quickly thinking, I was like, oh, that's a really good idea. I'll start scripting it. Even if I script only 2 or 3 lines, the process has started and it'll eventually turn into a video idea.
Yeah, I love it. I think taking the pressure off creating it as if like starting from scratch, use inspiration all around you. Everything is inspiration. Like your mentors online, quotes that you love, an experience that you had, a visual that you see, like there might be a park or a site that you drive past and it inspires you. It's like that in itself is content. And something that we really see for our clients as well is like lifestyle content that's just simply like freaking out, like going on a walk and it's like a sunset or a nature thing, and putting script over that and some really cool trending music is popping off at the moment.
Yeah, it really depends on the type of content that you want to put out, because you know, like if you wanted to be the expert in something, you can legitimately just go to Google, type in a question, well, whatever it is, and then Google will say what other people are searching for, and you can open up those little tabs a bunch of times and it will have everything that people are searching for, and then that way you can be the person who provides that answer in video form. You know what I mean? So there's that way if you wanted to be the expert, but then what we really align on is, you know, the Mel U show or the Switch Stevens show, where it's actually showcasing your life and it's a lot more authentic, and it doesn't have to be, I'm the expert in this. It's like, this is my life. Welcome to my TV show. And they're two different types of content, I think.
And I think document versus create, like Gary Vee really head honchoed this for so many content creators. But if you just document your process and document your journey versus trying to be already the thought leader when there's a little bit of like cringe behind it that you're like, far out, I've got imposter syndrome or whatever it is. I think if you actually just document, I teach my clients this all the time, is like, well, then you're more than capable and you have a extreme level of authority because it's just your lived experience. And all you're doing is showcasing, hey, this is what I'm thinking, or this is where I'm going, or what I'm starting, and come with me along the ride. You'll be pleasantly surprised at how many people within your community, and also people that haven't met you yet, that end up coming to that campfire and being like, I really vibe with this because it's genuine and it's authentic, and you're not trying to be the thought leader of every single thing.
People can smell bullshit from so far away. They can smell it through the phone. If you have just taken an idea and spoken on it that you have no experience on, people
There's
will
no
know.
credibility.
And the internet's fierce. They will track you down and they will find your whatever, where you went to uni, and be like, no, actually you're incorrect. You didn't do this. And you're like, oh shit. Where it's like, do cool shit and talk about it. Like, so documenting your life. Like, if you, like, the only reason I can really speak about discipline and sobriety and stuff like that is because I've done it for the last 8 years, and I have a lot to talk about because I've lived it. But I can't talk about whatever. Like, I can't give my advice on Strava, and you love that, because I don't use it. So I can't pretend, and people would know because it's not authentic and it's not genuine.
Yeah. So find that zone of genius, find the thing that you love, and start talking about it, sharing it, because it's your responsibility to go out into the world and serve greatness.
It is. Yeah. And I think when it comes to your content creation, there's 2 things that I always like to say. Stop worrying about the followers number and start worrying about your post number. That's the number on your account that you should be looking at. How many posts do you have? And the second thing, if you weren't you, would you share that video? Because if you wouldn't share your own video, it's probably not a good piece of content.
Facts. All right, Switch. Thanks so much for your time.
And thank you, Mel.
Next one.